Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk podcast after this afternoon's frustrating 2-2 draw with Watford at the Stadium of Light. As always, we arrive on the podcast a little bit annoyed, but I promise you, come the end of the show, you'll feel a little bit of catharsis, hopefully. You might even laugh a bit and you'll hopefully feel a little bit better about it. But look, if you don't, just unsubscribe. That's really not a problem from our side. We do recommend you do that. We're only missing Ross this week, who's feeling a little under the weather. Hope you're feeling better soon, mate, and we've all got you back. First up, Dave Lawrence. Dave, how are yourself?
Yeah, not bad. It's the old F word again, isn't it? Frustrated, but still unbeaten at home. We've probably found out what's there's still twists and turns, but we've probably found out what's happening. We've probably known for a while, really. It's playoffs. We're doing really well to keep in touch. But yeah, we'll pick the bones out of it. We'll enjoy ourselves, and I'm sure a few people will unsubscribe.
Sophie, you've come back for the third week, so it's your hat trick. I'm guessing you're enjoying it, but how you feel now? You imagine a bit frustrated?
Yeah, really enjoying it. Just wish the result today had been a better one. Frustrating, annoying, feeling a bit angry, feeling a bit, bit sad. But I reiterate what's already been said. We know where we're going to end up, and it's today and probably the Plymouth game have proved that. For me, that's what's happened. But yeah, it was a difficult game. It was an awkward game at times, but we just take it and we move on, don't we? I suppose.
A few people in the questions. We'll get into listeners' questions later on. We never come this early, but a few people, as I said in the tweet, 2 points drop because that's how it feels when you're that place in the table. Sorry, but a lot of people replied saying it's actually a point gained, and I think now that I've had a few hours to sit down, it probably is, Sophie, isn't it? It's probably a point gained considering how the game went.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were lucky in a way to get anything from the game. I think that it could have been a very different story. Obviously, to score in 89 minutes and to feel disappointed, it's a rare emotion, but that's because we've got high standards of this season. We are having a good season and you do want us to sneak into that automatic position, but we could have lost this game and, it nearly was lost. So you've just got to be grateful for the point and move on.
Pete, you're joining us at like 5 o'clock in the morning in Chinatown. I imagine you're tired, so I've answered that question for you. But how are you feeling about the match that happened for you yesterday?
Don't ask me what time things happened or what day things happened on these days. We're back in Shanghai after traveling around seeing some family, so it's yeah, disappointing. But after listening to what you've just said there, but with Dave and Sophie, yeah, it's right. It's a point gained. I don't really think we could have had any complaints if Watford had won that one because of large periods of the game. Sunderland were really not on it at all. Look, that point could be crucial come the end of it, but I think this is the game where I finally give up on my hope of top two, and really we have to admit that it's going to be the playoffs. I was still clinging on after Plymouth. Really, it should have been that game that we finally said, lad, it's going to be the playoffs. It's got to be the playoffs. So what we've got to hope now is that they can get some momentum going heading into those games because we all know what they can be like.
You miserable set of bastards. Nothing's out yet. It's February. Cheer up. Fucking hell. Jesus God, right. Thanks for listening to the podcast. No, but you know what? I think as is the nature of football, because I was thinking about that today. Like I have a really different experience to probably what a lot of fans who go to the match do. The majority of fans will, like I did when I was younger, go back in the house or go to the pub and chat with their family and friends and stuff. I kind of mess about on Twitter a bit and actually have my own thoughts that afterwards where I sit and think about it. And I'm actually feeling all right after it. I'm certainly not giving up on stuff, but I think, as is the nature of football, a few players have been torn apart online. I've seen stuff from like Patrick Roberts being classed as League Two level, or Luke O'Nine's to blame for like the goals that went in. And look, I'm not saying he wasn't, but football's reactionary, passionate, meaningful game. But what I would say is I don't think anything's over yet. Do I think it's going to be playoffs? Yeah, probably. But to come to balance land a little bit and I suppose be a bit blunt, that drive back helped clean my head a little bit. And do I think we're dropping too many points at Leeds and Sheffield United? Wouldn't. Yeah, Sheffield United weren't very good today and they still got the win over Portsmouth. They probably should have got beat for people who watched it. Portsmouth were really good. These teams can seem to get over the line with us, but do we need to throw out the baby with the bathwater, to use a cliche? No, probably not. Not getting automatic promotion this season. Would it be a tough one to take because we've enjoyed the season so much and we've only lost 4 games so far? Yeah, absolutely. Am I giving up on it yet? No. Do I think we'll get it? No. But I don't think it's as bad as it seems that we are seemingly unable to keep up with the squad depth of Leeds, Sheffield United, and other parachute payment teams, and we're still only 5 points behind, and they all have to play each other. So there's twists and turns yet, you bunch of miserable bastards, you. But Dave, I'll come back to you, mate. Look, I think looking at the game, there was one thing that really stuck out for me a lot, if I'm honest, Dave. And I think I've said all season, I think he's our best player, but I think particularly in the game today, we really struggled with physicality. Now, if you go, who's our most physical player? It's Job. He's the biggest, he's tallest, he's the strongest. I felt like today was a game we would have excelled in. How much do you feel we missed Job today, Dave? Because I really felt his, not just, I think he'd been a big miss anyway, but I think for today's game, he was like perfect, wasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Whether it's driving forward with a ball, whether it's holding the ball when there's a defender tight up at his backside, it's what he's good at, and he's so effective. I can only imagine why you just went on mute there. It's where we asked Job. Yeah, love him. What a compliment. I mean, you've loved him since we signed him.
I just feel he would have broke up a lot of the play today. Do you know when you're like, oh, like I look, maybe we're not giving Watford the credit they should have had. I thought they were the best team I've seen at the stadium like this season, and I will include Leeds with that. If I'm completely honest, I think we weren't good, but I also thought Watford were really good, and I think a lot of it came from their midfield. That Sissoko was shite, like, but the other lads that were in midfield, they were good, they were solid, they were strong, they made the right passes, they were quick, they were nippy. The number 8, the Georgian lad, whose name I won't try and pronounce, was excellent. He caused us tons of problems, and I just felt like when I was watching the game, it wasn't a case of like, oh, I wish Job was playing because I think he's our best player. I do think that, but I also think today's like the perfect game. He breaks that up. He gets in the middle. He puts a foot on the ball. He controls the midfield a lot of the time. And look, I think Daniel's a great player. I think Chris Riggs a conversation to be had at the moment because I think he's looking a little bit pagged for wanting a bet. One, I was going to say for want of a better word, that's the best word you could use. He looks pagged. I felt like today I just wanted like a Job in the middle, strong, physical, powerful presence that can be like, you're not going to dominate this midfield. I'm going to dominate this midfield. I'm going to put my foot on the ball and I'm going to control this game. And I feel like we really missed that today. I felt like a lot of the time, the loose balls and the second balls were all won by Watford. And I feel like Job stops that. But Sophie, I'll come to you as well. I think I've kind of summed up how much I love Job and also feel like we missed Job, but he felt like a big miss today, didn't he?
He really did, with Job and the position that he's been playing under Libri, is intercepting balls, it's, tracking runners, it's kind of breaking the lines. The thing is with Dan Neil is I think that Dan Neil doesn't suit being playing further up that pitch. If anything, I think that him and kind of him sitting in the middle, and that's, Samed was because of Samed playing, but you're completely right. He was a massive miss, especially against a physical side like Watford. You need to break down play, and, you know, he was just a huge, huge miss. And I just think when he's not playing, you need Dan Neil and Rig to give that extra 10%. And today it didn't click.
They're just not the same. Like, because we discussed at the start of the season about, well, we're not sure if Daniel's like good in this four. And like we spoke on Monday night's podcast, especially me and you, Pete, who previously had said we would prefer Daniel to be further forward. But Monday, I thought he was going into that position. And I think today you were kind of like, oh, I agree with Sophie. I kind of wish he was further deep. Like Sophie also touched on, you're missing that physical presence in midfield, someone that tracks the runners, someone that gets the ball, puts his foot on the ball. I kind of wish Alan Brown was fit today. I think Alan Brown's your perfect replacement. And unfortunately, it's come probably a week too soon for him. I don't think he's the same player as Joe, but I think he's the closest, most physical presence you've got in the middle. But one thing I do want to ask about, look, I'm not going to judge him after 3 games, and I thought he had a really good cameo on Monday, and I just had a feeling because I tweeted that he had a good cameo on Monday, he might have a bit of a shiter today. Pete, Samuel. Samed Abdul Salis, sorry, like I say, had that good cameo against Borough. He wasn't very good against Plymouth. Some of it was not his fault. He was kind of playing his game, but it slowed it down. But I felt he struggled today. I felt he struggled with the physicality. I felt he was slow. I don't know if it looked different on the telly to you, Pete, but to me, he slowed a lot of the play down and he kind of got far too easily played through in the midfield when we really needed him to be a lot more physical than he was.
I don't think it'll go down as a great game for a lad that's played at some of the highest levels that are available in world football. But the thing that stood out for me as a problem with Abdul Samad today was really the amount of times he had a ball out to Lafi that he could have played with his left. And he took one extra touch onto his right to try and get his body around it. And I'm screaming at him, just going, hit it first time, get that pass out. It's about how much he slows the player down when it doesn't need slowing down. And yeah, I thought he was disappointing today. I don't know how he fits into that Sunderland team for me properly, because if everybody is fit to play in the positions, I think Dan Neil has shown himself to be a far better player in that position this season than anything we've seen from Abdul Samad. And I think Dan Neil's ability to get the ball forward from that position after he's won the ball back, or to almost that quarterback position in midfield is just much better. And if we're seeing that, you've got to imagine the coaching staff are seeing that. And yeah, look, I can only say what's been said already, that Job was absolutely a colossal miss today. I think if you'd had Alan Brown available, as you said, he gives you that ability, that range of passing, that ability to get forward a little bit. I know Alan Brown's not going to be, he's not going to pick the ball up and run 40 yards with it, but he will get that ball moving forward. I don't know what Samed's been told or what he thinks he's doing, what he thinks his plan is when he's got it. But it's not working, and it's to the detriment of the team quite clearly. Although I don't think you can dig Samed out and go, oh, the reason that Sunderland switched off for 80 minutes in a football match, because when you think about it, they really did, was because of that one lad not getting the ball forward quick enough. I think a lot of that falls on the rest of them as well. But yeah, no, not a great performance from him today. I would be very happy to see Alan Brown back in the team. And eventually, I'd be very happy to see Dan Neil back in that defensive midfield position.
You touched on Dan Neil there, I think. I thought Dan was all right today, to be honest. Some people might disagree with me. I thought Dan did all right, but there was part of me that was like, he was winning the ball in the midfield, but he was winning it in like the sixth position the eighth position. And then he was getting the ball. There was one pass that he just like flung out of play, and I was like, oh, Dan. But it was almost like he was expecting to be 10 yards further back. I feel like at the start of the season, I wasn't sure on him deeper, but then I've seen him a few times this season when he hasn't been there, Plymouth, and also that other game today. I felt like Abdul Samid's passing was just not the same level, and it was slower and it was less crisp, and it didn't have as good a range. But look, Joe will hopefully be back on Wednesday. I think that is kind of what Regis de Bries has aimed at, has sort of said will happen.
I think my biggest problem was probably we were just a bit one dimensional. And that's all it is, like soaking up that pressure. And I understand why they do it, to get Wilson on the
On the counter.
yeah, just to get him on the last man, but also bring their defence up, and it gives loads of room for them to run in behind. I understand the game plan, but sometimes you want to go and win with a little bit of zest and a little bit of pizzazz and a little bit. And I guess that's the frustration today. Dare I see it? Dare I see it? It's probably where, in a game like the day, where we've asked, or kind of on our wish list, for a centre forward who holds the ball up and just does the ugly bits and stuff like that, they'd have probably fit in quite well today. I know you wouldn't drop Isidore, that goes without saying, but just for a different dimension. And I think that's my kind of script for the day. It was just a bit one dimensional, and it frustrated me, I suppose.
We tried to hit the Mepham tried to hit the diags and the long balls from the back a few times to Wilson, and it just wasn't working because Watford are a team of monsters. The number six they had, I think he's a new signing, like it was absolutely colossal, and he didn't really need to do that much. I thought Wilson played well. I thought his assist was nice. I thought his run to get the ball, I thought he did what he could do, but he was feeding off scraps a bit. But it's interesting. We changed to 4-4-2, and Mayenda came on, and stuff was sticking on Mayenda. Mayenda put that chance on, and I mean, look, those two chances at the end, Jesus. Um, but for me, it came from my end coming on the pitch, which was quite a big change for me. But look, we'll get into the 4-4-2 because a couple of really good listeners' questions this week. Not that there isn't normally. I'm just saying there's quite a number of really go, God, that's it. I've knackered it. But Sophie, what did you make of the subs? Obviously, you had Paveda and Alexis came on. And everyone was crying out for Mayenda, who eventually did come on, and I think he made a big difference. But then he brought Paveda and Alexis on with about what, like 25 minutes to play, which seemed like a bit of an odd choice.
Yeah, I mean, Milan was one that I was questioning a bit more than anything. Paveda probably because we needed a bit of pace, we needed a bit of flair. Maybe he's on the wing to try and get the ball in the box, but I don't know. It was a strange one. I just felt like today that Reggie had set us up not great to play a physical side. When we went 4-4-2, in the last kind of dying embers of the game, we were on the front foot, we were attacking. Balls were coming in the box, and see them two great chances in the last 5 minutes were created. It just felt like it added a different element to our game with them coming on. Paveda, people digging out Paveda, it wasn't that he was bad, but it was that maybe it's because we were all looking at him thinking, come on, like, you've been brought on for a reason, same as Alexic. But what do you want the lads to do in 20 minutes? It's hardly a long period of time to really come on and make an impact. But I mean, I don't know. My ender made the change, like he made the changes, and I was sat there thinking at 50 minutes, get him on, get him
I
on.
was thinking that.
A different dimension of play because it was so predictable the way we were playing balls over the top, but they were over hits and that type of thing. But he did make all the difference.
I felt like, I think it was Dave touching it before about like dropping back and stuff. It does sometimes work because, to be honest, we got beat by an outstanding goal. It's one of the best goals I've ever seen in the stadium like that. Like, it was an absolute screamer, and Serkins had a bit of a brain fart. In general, Watford had a lot of the ball, but didn't really have that many chances that I can think of. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I couldn't think of many. But they obviously had more possession, at least it felt. And I felt like they were more in the game, and if anyone deserved to win it, it was them. But I suppose take out the wonder goal, which is a great strike, and you can't really take it out because it was scored by them, and a bit of a brain fart. We were relatively, I don't want to say untroubled because we were troubled, but it wasn't like they had five, six, seven, eight chances where we coming out the stadium at the end, you were a bit gutted that we hadn't won it because of those two chances. But I feel like I agree with the way he set us up. Didn't feel right today because the sitting back thing, when we were trying to get stuff on the break and launch long balls to Wilson, their big monsters at the back were just eating it up, winning the second ball and then giving it to their midfield, and then it was coming back on us. And I felt like we needed to change that a lot earlier. Like you see, about the 50-minute mark, I was going, we're 2-1 down here. We need to score before the 70th to have a chance of getting a goal. Little did I know we'd score in the 89th and then miss two absolutely glorious chances in injury time. But at the time, you're feeling we need to get back into this with at least 25 minutes to go to give ourselves a really good chance. And what we're doing at the moment isn't working because every time I felt like they won every loose ball, but I think it was a lot of the time because physically they were stronger than us in midfield and in defence. And a lot of the time it was trying to launch long balls to my ender, not my ender, sorry, Wilson, to try and get him to run beyond the last defender, but their defenders were just eating it up. Their hands were all over him at points. I think everyone's seen the photo of him with his hands all over him in the box and stuff like that. But look, you cannot. I know the ref got a bit of stick on that today, but I don't think you can account for it anymore. I think you've just got to deal with it you can deal with. I'm tired of talking about refs and linesmen. Like, I do feel he set us up wrong. I agree, Sophie, 100%. But Pete, subs today, I felt my end made a difference. I'm in the minority, I think. I thought Pavetta was bright, but I definitely seem to be in the minority, so I'll keep that one to myself. Might even edit it out. Who knows? See how I
Yeah,
feel.
maybe.
I thought he was all right. I thought he looked bright. I felt no one moved for him when he got the ball, to be honest. But
That's definitely fair.
what really changed for me, Pete, and me and Sophie just talked about there when we went 4-4-2. I never thought I'd see a French manager with the continental flair that he's meant to bring and all that kind of stuff and go to a 4-4-2 and me think it looks better, but I think we look better in a 4-4-2 at home. The best performance we've had in the past couple of months at home where we've looked dominant and like we could win by quite a few was against arguably the first or the second best team in this league, which is Sheffield United, and we thoroughly deserved that win. And it was with Mayenda and Wilson up top. Look, do we go 4-4-2 in games where, no offense to Watford and Plymouth, we should be aiming for 3 points?
I mean, I would love to see them go for 4-4-2 in these type of games because something needs to change because it's clearly not working in particularly those type of games against opposition that are in this position in the league. I would love to see it because I think the last 5 minutes show just what a threat it is when they play like that. And big no bones about it. I think both Alexic and Wilson should have scored, but it's two great saves from their goalkeeper. That means that Watford get a point out of that. I mean, obviously, we will say we saved a point ourselves because I do think Sunderland were very poor today. But yeah, look, they had chances to win it at the end there, and a lot of that came through the extra attacking threat, the extra player that needs to be picked up from the defensive side of the opposition in playing 4-4-2. I would love to see them start there. I think Mayenda is a player that's come on leaps and bounds this season. You forget how young he is. He got a lot of stick, including from me earlier in the season. I've shown myself to be frequently wrong, and I will be again. So I think he's in a patch at the moment. You look at his stats when it comes to goal contributions, he's right up there. I think he's a very difficult player for opposition teams to play against. He's very strong. He's very quick. Got a lovely bit of aggro about him. When one of their lads went down for
I like that.
longer than Eli decided he was allowed to be on his backside, he was right into them and telling them get up, get on with it, and making sure the referee's having the point in his watch going, "I'm going to add it on. Leave it alone. Calm it down." Look, I think he's a big threat, and I would love to see them start with a 4-4-2. In 4-4-2, though, where are you playing Laffy? That's my question there, particularly at the moment. Wherever he wants, I know you can say that, but I think we are. I think that Laffy was a little bit hit and miss today at times. He was brilliant at moments, but at other times, also I don't think he got the balls that he needed to get. And as I said earlier on, I think Samed was slow in getting the ball distributed out to him on the left, which we'd seen previously in that Borough game. He got that ball quick, and when he got the ball quick, he did things with it. But you asked us about 4-4-2. My only thing would be really, where do you play? And if we say we have a fully fit squad, say we've got Mundle backfiring in all cylinders, what's the midfield then? If you're playing 4-4-2, and I always think he will start with one up front. Hopefully he'll learn to change it quicker, but I always think he'll start with one up front, despite what we would like to see.
I want to stick with you on this one, Pete, because we discussed it when he was going through his last little sticky run of form, and then he came through it and did well, scored a couple of goals, got some assists. I'm a huge Patrick Roberts fan, huge. Like, I think he brings so much to our team. I think when he plays well, we play well. But he's dropped off again the past few weeks. And I felt my biggest worry today, Pete, was with Roberts. And it is a big worry. I think sometimes when you talk about Patrick Roberts having a bad game, it's when he's had a few chances to put a good cross in, or he's not had the end product you want from him. And we've discussed that at length. If he does everything, if he gets every assist and he gets every goal that he expects to get, he's not playing in the championship. But I felt today, my biggest worry with Roberts today is I didn't notice him. And that's a concern because the previous times when Roberts has not been great, it's been a case of like, oh, you should be getting more goals, you should be getting more assists. Oh, he did this, or he did this 40-yard run, he did brilliant. I can't remember a run he did today. I can't remember.
No.
I didn't think he did too much defensively. I thought he got out muscled a bit on that left-hand side, or his right-hand side if you prefer. So you're talking about where do you put Laffy and all that kind of stuff. Is there an argument that you could keep the same formation, but you put Mayenda like as an inside right winger that can bring the ball from deep, but also get forward to support and like because we can be quite fluid. We can be
Yeah,
quite a fluid
I think
formation.
I think that's a much better option and will probably be the more likely use of Mayenda as opposed to Regis starting with 4-4-2. I can't see him starting it like that no matter what we say. But yeah, unfortunately for Patrick Roberts, he was fairly anonymous today, apart from again having a part to play in a goal that they've conceded. I thought, look. I was looking at some stats there. One of the ones that jumped out was Watford made 80% of the tackles that they went to put in today. And every time the ball came anywhere near Patrick Roberts, it was cut out. Every time, the few times I can think of seeing Patrick Roberts, the ball didn't beat the first man. He didn't beat the first man when he tried to take anybody on. Yeah, I would look. I keep calling for people to sit a few games out and maybe get a bit of rest because I would just want to have competition for places. I want them to know that if you don't put in the 7 out of 10, not everybody's going to be 7 out of 10 because not everybody's job every week. Then you're potentially looking at the chance of losing your spot. I think Roberts is one of the few positions that we can have somebody that can come in, and that somebody being Mayenda. So if you can do it, do it. I think it's right. It's the right time. Big game against Luton after this result, after the result against Plymouth. They're all big games at the moment now. It's. I heard somebody say something, I think before the game, that it's 16 cup finals. It might as well be that because there's a hell of a lot riding on promotion this season for Sunderland. Not least Enzo Lafay, because we want to see much more of him. But I think let's do that. I think if I was offered tomorrow the chance that look, Patrick Roberts is going to start on the bench against Luton and it's going to be Eliza Mayenda in there on the right hand side, great, let's have that, because that also there is the option then if it's not working, you can move Mayenda up front, bring Roberts on, and then you get 4-4-2. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be disappointed. That's the word I was looking for. I wouldn't be disappointed if Patrick Roberts sat one out.
Yeah, I'm a huge Patrick Roberts fan, and I agree with that, to be honest. But I think another part of it, one of the listeners' questions was, why does Chris Rigg start every game? Because he's brilliant. Because he's a
Because he's
fantastic.
mint like.
Yeah, because he's a fantastic footballer. Do I understand the question though? Yeah. He looks, I'll use the word again, pagged. He looks tired, which I think is normal and fine. But I think, and this is where we need to be maybe not, I don't want to say to anyone, let's not be disappointed because football's a competitive sport. But what I was thinking in the car on the way back is that I was thinking, oh, we'll bring up Riggy on the podcast because he's been off form. He's not been great. Then I thought, seen the question and someone said, why does Chris Rigg start every game? And I thought, well, because he's class. And the other options basically aren't as good. And then I thought, oh, but Leeds have that option where they can just ghost anyone in. Sheffield United are able to spend 20 million on strikers and ghost anyone in, change the formation, change stuff. And that's kind of the difference between us and automatic promotion at the minute. It's 5 points, I think, between us and Sheffield United. And the difference is they have this squad where you can change almost like for like quality. And whilst we have a good squad and a very good starting 11, it's not quite as strong as theirs. And the only way to really fix that is to either rip up the model completely and spend loads of money we don't have, or get parachute payments, which we're not going to get unless we go up. So in a sense, I'm not saying like don't be disappointed we can't keep up with them. I would love to fly in the face and do an Ipswich, but I think Ipswich are a one-off. I think what Ipswich did last season is a Leicester that won the Premier League. There's always going to be one-off team that just manages it. I don't think it's a regular. I don't think it's an average thing to happen. So I think it's a disappointing we can't do an Ipswich and just like knock these parachute payment teams out of the way. Yeah, really frustrating because I'd love to be able to, fight against the way football is at the moment and be like, look, you can win stuff with kids or you can win stuff with a team that doesn't have parachute payments. But the fact of the matter is, us and Sheffield United were quite close. We'd done Sheffield United and deserved to beat them. Then they went out and spent 20 million on two strikers that probably won't even do that much in the Premier League for them if they go up, if we're completely honest. But they can afford to do that because they have this expendable cash, which we don't really have. We still have to be a little bit careful because 2.5 seasons ago we were in League One. And is that really a bad place to be? Well, it doesn't feel great because I'd rather be in second. But ultimately, the fact that we're even in the conversation, I think, is a huge testament to how the team's played this season. And I think that's where it comes down to where we could be stronger here collectively. I think a few people, me included today, lose their heads a little bit when we don't win a game. We're not going to win every game because the squad's not strong enough to compete and win every single game the way that like a Leeds or Sheffield United are. But we're not that far behind. We probably won't catch them. I don't think we will. But the way we could catch them is by sticking together, believing in the players because they've shown us enough this season to show us that they could catch them. They are good enough to beat them on their day. You know, Sheffield United beat us once, and I don't think they deserve to beat us. Burnley couldn't score against us. Leeds, all right, fair enough. They were all right. Meslier chucks the ball in at the end, not too bad. But I do feel like if we've got any chance of automatic promotion, let's just stick together a bit. Understand where we're at, but we can give anyone a game in our day, and we've got a good team that cares about it. One of the questions, Dave, was, and I got a bit frustrated at this question, and I'm sorry because obviously you listen to the podcast and stuff like that, and it's just an opinion which you're entitled to have. But someone said, why do the players not seem to give a fuck when they play against teams like Watford, Plymouth, and Portsmouth? I don't know how you've come to the conclusion they don't care.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mentality thing or an application thing whatsoever. I think they're young. I think the teams that you're looking at that have done well against us, is that a phrase I'd use? Probably not.
We've only lost 4 games this season, by the way,
Yeah,
reminder.
exactly. I think I think the phrase I'd use, the teams that we've struggled against, is is just the teams that have got wily old foxes in there and know how to slow down momentum, play
We,
the dark
we
arts.
struggle against physicality and someone that can
Yeah,
slow the game down.
exactly. You've got to. If you look up Sissoko, how many games has he had? And he had a fair few of them in the top flight.
6 of them against Sunderland, none of them we won. Just I remember those ones.
I dare say he's probably had 600 career games, 500 career games, and a lot of them in the top flight. He's been there, he's done it. Slow it down. What you're going to get with a youthful team is exuberance, running, relentlessness, and it is all words that you could associate with us. Unfortunately, if someone slows down that momentum, you've got to work out how to combat it. And we said at the beginning of the season, if it gets into the realms of needing a few more experienced heads or gets into situations that we haven't encountered before, we might well just struggle. Listen, if a 2-2 draw is a struggle, and to counteract that question, they don't. We've just equalised in the 89th minute to keep an unbeaten home record. I don't think that shows not caring
We
personally.
we also we also came back against Plymouth and we duffed it at the end, but we were poor against Plymouth and we
It's the signs of a good team, isn't it? If you're not
yeah.
playing at your best, at your most fluid, and you're not getting beat. Yes, we might have had to go to the last minute to equalise, but we've also had chances to win. So, you know, it's one of them. Frustration is the word, but I definitely wouldn't be. I definitely wouldn't be questioning anyone's character. For me personally, I totally respect the opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Aye, and look, everyone's entitled to it 100%. I'm not going to argue into anyone on their opinion, but like I think I said it a few weeks ago, for me, I've seen enough wasters waste my time watching this football club, and I've had enough of my days and hours and like moments in what's probably going to be a relatively short life in comparison to, what's 8 years in football now, really. And I got a bit tired of watching players that were wasting my time and obviously didn't care. I don't feel like that with this bunch of players, so I don't want to treat them as such, if that makes sense. I actually really trust them. I think there was 2 comments which weren't questions to the podcast. There were 2 statements, but they really stuck out to me. Someone said, "Look, poor performance all around. We have to own it." But now's not the time to single out any players. Get together, get round everyone, meet the challenge head on, and be together and trust in the players that have only lost 4 games this season, and just go as far as we can go and go with it. You know, someone else said we've done brilliantly without our two wingers, two best wingers for months. He says, imagine if we didn't have Clark for a few months last season, where we would have been. The few players are below par and they look jaded, but we're still very much up there. Now's not the time to give up. I think that's a really good comment as well. So I'm pleased that the listeners' questions were just really good comments that I can pinch for myself this week. But Sophie, look, big game. Coming up on Wednesday, they're all big games. I think Pete said before, 16 cup finals if we want to use a cliche. But how important is that Luton game for you, and what changes would you make, if any?
I think that it's a colossal game now. You know, you look at the Middlesbrough game, you look at this one, and then if you beat Luton, it's a successful kind of 3 games. Do you know what I mean? Because if someone said to me, "Oh, you go to Middlesbrough, you get a point, and then you beat Watford," you would take it, wouldn't you? But I suppose it's just the manner that we've played the game. But it's a big game. It's the good thing with this league is that we've always got an opportunity to put it right quickly. But you're right. It's not the time to start saying that players don't care, because we've watched players who don't care. We've watched players who've just took a wage and fob off, or I'm not bothered. We've supported the club through probably the worst period in its history in the last kind of 10 years. I know that I have. There was a time where we didn't win at home for a year. So happy with the way that things are going, and just collect ourselves. We'll go again, get in the stadium, and like I said at the Burnley podcast, chin up and charge the mountain. It's there to be taken.
People really liked that, and it did work, to be fair. Do you bring? I think because you're looking at changes, like Job comes back in. Let's say I think you'll keep the same formation. So Job comes back in, Samed goes out. That one's obvious. Do you bring Ballard in? And I mean, do you bring him in for O9, or do you switch even O9 to left back and take Circle out? Because we talk about under par performances for the standards they've got. I feel O9 and Circle have been under par. You might disagree, but does Ballard come back in for you?
I think so. I think it's you know what, I think the whole, we've been shipping goals a lot, haven't we? You look at the last couple of games and it has been poor, there's no denying that. I think that I don't think that the fullbacks have been great. So I think that they've kind of not let us down in games, but definitely have made mistakes that have been costly, and maybe that comes down to a lack of competition. We were talking about squad depth, because it's not the squad depth isn't there. Leeds and Sheffield United and Burnley's that they have that kind of that quality all over, but maybe it is time. It's hard with Luke O'Nien because he scored today from a set piece, which we never seem to do. But maybe it's time to bring Ballard in, because when he came on, I thought he looked solid. I think that he won a lot in the air, particularly against a physical side. But maybe it's time to go forth with Mepham and Ballard in the centre, and then you can change up your midfield. Rig maybe needs to come out because like you said, he seemed knackered. So I still want to see Laffy play in the midfield. Desperate to see him play in the midfield.
I felt the Fee had some nice touches today. It wasn't great, but I thought we got better when he went in the middle and my ender was on there. I feel it was more my ender than anything, but I agree. I personally would put Serkin on the bench and play O9 at left back. I think O9 physicality against a physical team in Luton would suit better. I think Ballard's naturally a physical specimen. He's a huge unit of a man. I genuinely can't believe he's 22 because he's like Hulk. I'd bring him in. I think he's an important player to have. I think Job comes back in. We've touched on Job's physicality, but Pete, I'll give you final say here. You haven't had final say for a while. What's your team for Luton? How do we approach the game? How do you set up? How are you feeling about it? All that kind of stuff.
I mean, I'm as confident as any team that Sunderland will play in this league, because I do think Sunderland can beat any team in the Championship this season, whether they do or not. And just go back to one of the points that was made about attitude. I don't think there is a problem with the attitude in the Sunderland squad. Lapses in concentration, though, huge problems with that at times. Both goals from Watford came from that. I mean, at one point, I think before, it's a lovely strike from Loser, but there's 6 red, white shirts around him. Shouldn't get it away. Anyway, who plays for me?
He's not a loser, by the way, is he? He's not a loser.
I mean, I'm showing my age here, but I don't know if Watford fans have any songs. have any songs based on the Beck track from the 90s, but I hope they do. Right, I'm going Patterson in goal. I am going with O'Nien at left back because I do think Dennis Cirkin, as much as I love him, he needs competition. He needs competition for that spot. He can't drop a 5 or a 6. Well, he can't drop a poor performance. Well, I'm in the team anyway because I'm fit and I'm the only one. So I'm going to put O'Nien at left back. I'm going to play Mepham and Ballard. I want Ballard in there because I think he gives us a threat for goals as well from set pieces where we've been lacking. And Tri-Hume is it right back. In midfield, we are going with Dan Neil in the holding midfield place. We are going Enzo Lafay on the left. This is who I think he'll play rather than what I want to see. I think he'll go Enzo Lafay. I think he'll go Job and Chris Rigg. And I think it'll be Eliza Mayenda on the right with Wilson Isidore up front.
That's largely what I'd probably go with, to be honest. I think we miss Mundle an awful lot. I don't know if I can't remember the stat.
I desperately missing an out and out left winger, but I don't think he'll move Lafay into the middle until we have Mundle back fit and ready.
I haven't fact checked this, and I only seen it on Twitter, which might mean I could be wrong, but I think this is right. Since Mundle's been injured, we haven't won a game by 2 goals or more.
Interesting. I'd believe it. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Well, that's exactly the point. If that's not correct, then tough. I don't care. I thought it was quite a good start. Sounded good. Pete, I'll go through all these, but Wednesday we're not going to do a preview. I haven't got time. Score prediction?
1-0 Sunderland.
I'll agree with you on that, Eliza Mayenda. Sophie,
Yep.
Score prediction?
3-1 Sunderland.
I like that one. I like that one better than mine. Mine sounds like I'm going to have a anxious Wednesday night, doesn't it? Dave, are you going to go with Sophie's positive? Or are you going to go with me? I mean, they're all positive, aren't they? They're all wins.
I was genuinely going to say 3-1, so I'll go for the old soccer EM one and go 74-3.
Showing your age there.
All for Eliza Mayenda. Hi, big man, what's your name?
Hates Sam Fender. Lads, lasses, thanks very much as always. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy Wednesday, and then on to Leeds.